Before I get into this, let's take a deep breath in and out. So I had this thought today. I was thinking to myself, what gifts can I possibly give the world? What could I possibly say to somebody else, to another person? What knowledge could I give them? What wisdom could I give of myself, of the wisdom and knowledge that I have acquired that is not already within them? And I was like, I guess that's it. Anything that I could say to you, anything that I could do, you can do. And that was sort of the conversation I was having with myself just a moments ago, which was like, all of knowledge, all of the infinite knowledge is accessible to all of us. And we all have this option to tune into it. And I guess the only thing that I could possibly give is my own story about how I tuned into it, how I tapped into it, and how I tap into it every day. But even in saying that to you, I am in my own process, in my own mind, thinking to myself, well, if I have access to it and I gained access to it, anybody can gain access to it. Anybody has that access, has that knowledge. But then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, well, if everybody has this access and this knowledge, then what's the point of having all these books, of listening to these seminars? Because in my life, I've read books and I've gained so much knowledge from them. I've been at seminars that have taught me a huge amount of information that has served me really, really well. And I believe that without these people, these messengers of the universe, I probably would be still back somewhere along the path that I took to get to where I am now. And so here I am thinking to myself, okay, what is it that is uniquely mine, unique to me, unique to the expression of Anakin, that I could possibly serve the world with? And then I thought about all of the different mentors, whether in physical reality or through a book or through a YouTube video or through a seminar that I have received knowledge from. And I thought to myself, well, a lot of them are saying the same things. But it wasn't until I watched it 10 times. It wasn't until I read 10 different books about the subject, or I heard it for the 13th or 14th time, that it really clicked for me. And even then, it didn't, it was after I heard about it from one place, heard about it from another place, heard about it out of the mouth of a mentor, talked about it with a couple of friends, and then experienced it, that the full culmination of the knowledge bestowed itself upon me in the form of wisdom. And so the title of this video is, we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. And I guess that is the thing that I would like to share with you. Jim Rohn, one of the mentors of mine who I did not know personally, but listened to a lot of his books and stuff, seminars, books, speeches. He says if you receive a piece of information one time, you got it once. And if you share it with 10 people, you just heard it 10 times. And culminating his knowledge that he gave me with some knowledge that I got from my 9th grade Algebra 2 teacher, Miss Everson, who, if you're watching, Miss Everson, thank you. This lesson that you've taught me has stuck with me and served me throughout my whole life and throughout my whole journey. And she told me, and she would consistently tell me, Anakin, I know you know it. We need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. And later she played a TED Talk for us. Or it's either she who played a TED Talk or I listened to a TED Talk that talked about this concept of neural pathways. And when you are taught something the first time, a small little neural pathway is formed. And this new neural pathway is very, very fragile, very, very thin. And after you being told it again 10 to 12 times, then it starts to become something, a program that you stick to, adhere to, something that you actually can recall. So I guess what I'm trying to say is whatever knowledge that you pick up from whatever sources that you picked it up from, all knowledge is ultimately, and here's another thing that I've learned from a mentor. This is Bruce Lee. I've read a lot of his stuff, a lot of the books by John Little, who extensively researched the philosophy of Bruce Lee. And Bruce Lee would have this philosophy that all knowledge ultimately leads to self-knowledge. All things that we learn, whether we learn it about other people, about certain subjects, about things that have nothing to do with us at all knowledge ultimately teaches us about ourselves. And then we can get back, we could dive into Jungian philosophy, Carl Jung, who said that anything that we see in others that causes us to disturbance or causes us to be frustrated, annoyed, all of these things help us learn about the dark sides of ourselves. And then this goes back to it takes one to know one, But I believe that there is a pattern to life. And I believe that all teachings are essentially the same. And the more simplistic it gets, the more sacred it is. I mean, the Emerald Tablet of Thoth only has 11 things on there, 10 or 11 things. And it supposedly contains all of the knowledge and wisdom of the entire universe. All of the things that you need to manifest or create. And it's not too long. It's very, very simple. It's very easy to understand. But I believe just reading one thing isn't going to, maybe it will. Maybe you are the person who meditates on death once when you're 18 years old and suddenly becomes enlightened. That can happen. But maybe you need to be reminded. Maybe it's not just one source of information that will help you. Maybe once you hear it from 1, 2, 3, 4 perspectives, that is when you'll start to get a clearer picture about the whole thing. Excuse me. And so asking myself that question again through this conversation this dialogue or monologue or whatever this is, I'm reminding myself that while, yes, I've heard all of these things, maybe the person who's watching this, you, might have not heard these things in this order or heard these things spoken in this way. And I'm being reminded that, even though all of this different information I've received from many different sources, I can serve the world by giving my view, my outlook. One of the things that I learned very early on, I don't know who it was from. Maybe one of you guys can remind me here. But there was a quote. It said, in order to become a fascinating person, you must first be fascinated by people. And I looked at that and I said to I wondered about it. And I got really, really I got really fascinated with books and with mentors and with people because I wanted to be a fascinating person. And then there's a pattern to life, and this is something that I've talked about and talked through with myself throughout my years. There's a pattern to life. And I had a friend, and so see now I'm sort of riding this wave of this conversation because I'm really just having a conversation here. And I talked to this friend about the idea of stealing in business, or stealing in art, or copying even. One of my really, really close friends came to me, and I had mentioned something about copying, or I had said something to them. I'd given them a piece of advice, and I say, hey, I stole that from Mr. Dan Kennedy, who is one of the mentors who writes a lot of books, and I love. But they were a little bit, they were like, what? You stole that? And so I told them, I said, well, when we learn to play, because I didn't know how to explain it to them that copying, stealing is a learning process. By copying what others are doing that is already successful, we could become so much more successful. And I think this is what it is, like, our forefathers developed all of these things for us. And if we copy where they left off, we can learn so much quicker. For instance, when you're learning to play an instrument, the first things that we do, yes, you can learn arpeggios, scales, you can learn music theory. But one of the fastest ways to learn how to play an instrument is to simply copy songs that are already being played today, compositions that are already being played today, because those compositions, the people who composed those songs, they took from the people before them, and those people took from the people before them. And so to be on the leading edge of creation, we must accept the knowledge that has been gathered by our forefathers. There's my rice cooker going off. My beautiful, amazing rice cooker. I'm gonna let it ride, okay? But anyways, this concept of copying, of stealing, of taking ideas from others, I think it relates to this idea of, in order to be fascinating, you have to be fascinated. In order to be a good guitar player, you must first learn all of the tricks of the trade. And to learn all of the tricks of the trade, the best way to do it is to copy, note for note, exactly the songs that you want to play. And by playing those songs over and over again, then you can start to develop your own style of music. You can start to write your own music. You learn one song, and then you learn another song, and then now you have a combination of these two ideas, and then you learn a third song, and there's a culmination of ideas here. And it's just like this. I put it out in another video, a manifestation video, but it's like this. You get an idea, okay? You have a perspective. Here you are, you have a perspective, you get an idea, and then you move to the edge of that perception, to the edge of that circle. And then you increase your perception. This is when you learn the second song, okay? And so now you have a fullness of the second song, a fullness of the first song. Here you are, consciousness, moving to the edge of perception. And this is the Pisces Vesica. This is the golden ratio. This is sacred geometry, and so on and so forth, until it forms the flower of life, and the flower of life turns into a bigger flower mandala, and it goes on and on and on. And eventually you're creating your own music. The question that I really ask myself is, what can I do? What information could I possibly give out that you already, you don't already have access to? And, the answer is none. You have access to all of the information. But I do believe in these books. The reason why I'm even making this video now is because of how many videos like this that I've watched in my life. The reason why I want to write a book is because of how many books have benefited me in my life. And if I were to make music, the only reason that I would make music is because of how much music has impacted me. Okay? And here it is. I'm being reminded of something that I read about in the Gospel of Thomas. So let me see if I can find the Gospel of Thomas here. And let me see if I can find for you exactly what it is I read. It is the thing, the lion here. Maybe it's in the beginning. And here I am just like going through this book here. Now, the Gospel of Thomas, when I first found it, now this is something that I recommend a lot of people do, and I recommend that you do. When I find something like the Gospel of Thomas or the Tao Te Ching, something that is highly, highly creative, because of how many ways it can be interpreted and how many activations that can come from it. And I mean, what I mean by activations is like how many ideas spring from this book itself is just amazing. What I did when I first started listening to the Gospel of Thomas is every single night, it's about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours long, I would listen to the entire Gospel of Thomas. And I did this for probably months. Just listening to it again and again and again and again and again. And this is that principle. We need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. Every single time that you read something again, you are reminded of what it is, okay? Every time you form a new connection, that connection in your brain gets stronger here, okay? Please excuse me for looking through this book here. I'm trying to find you a specific passage. He who drinks from my mouth will be like me, and I shall be him, and the hidden things will be revealed to him. The kingdom of the Father is spread over all the earth, and men do not see it. That's a very, very powerful thing to understand, okay? I don't know where it is. Maybe it's not even in the Gospel of Thomas. What it is the man who eats the lion. It's that one. Maybe you can look it up. It's a Bible verse, possibly in the Gospel of Thomas. I didn't see it here, but the man who eats the lion will not taste death, but the lion who eats the man. And what I think that means is, you know, we're delivered onto this planet, into this realm. I call it a realm. You know, I like the idea of Earth realm, because in this realm we are all gods. We are all creators of whatever it is we want to create. But we also have the opportunity to consume of the world. Take ideas from other people, you know, listen to them, hear them, gain knowledge, gain wisdom from others, learn, eat of the lion, and then from that become our own creation. And so I think that's really, if I'm to answer my own question through this conversation that I'm having right now, it's that the thing that I have to offer the world is simply my own interpretation of the world. And, you know, oftentimes I think, you know, well, if I can do this, anybody can do this. And I'm right. Anybody can do this. And you can do this. And I think, well, what's the point if everybody can do this? And I think about all of the people who served me in my life. All of the mentors, all of the guys on YouTube that I watched that helped me think about and ponder and get my mind wrapped around these ideas in different ways. And I think, well, if they've served me, I guess I'm feeling like it's my turn to serve others. And in doing so, just like Jim Rohn said in that first, in the beginning there, like, when I share with you, I get to hear it again. And so in saying that, it's not just me who's giving out all this knowledge and not learning from it. Every time I speak it, every time I repeat myself, every time I talk about these quotes or these things, again, I get to get that information again. And Jim Rohn, very, very powerful creator, speaker, very well spoken. Right now I think that's about all I have for you today, as insofar as this pondering goes. But I will probably have more for you tomorrow, and you will probably receive more downloads and more downloads again and again and again. And life is infinite, and there's infinite things to learn and ponder and grasp and be fascinated by, and on it goes. On and on it goes. So thank you. It has been fun talking to you. Have a wonderful day.